What's up, people? Welcome to the Part 2 episode of Wrestle Update. I'm Dylan Fox. We talked about Night of Champions last episode, which was, again, Part 1 of our two-part series this weekend. As we mentioned on that show, I was joined by my regular co-host, Scott Edwards, but due to contractual reasons, he cannot be here today to review AEW's pay-per-view, which, of course, is Double or Nothing. I mean, you know that already. You clicked on the thing. You probably saw it on the page. So you know what's going on. You know what show we're talking about. But the fact of the matter is, Scott can't be here, but I wanted to give you guys something. I'll always check in. I always got to give you guys the Wrestle Update. And to do that, I called in the co-host of one of my other shows, a side show on the 5-Star Network, which is about DDT, Dragon Gate, and even GLEAT. If you're a Japanese wrestling fan, please check that out. It's a lot of fun. But he is on that show. He is the lead dog of that show, the point guard, the quarterback, if you will. He is all the way from Norway, my good friend, Sondre Bjørn. How you doing, Sondre?
Hi. This is my first time reviewing an AEW pay-per-view, and I can't wait to talk about the show.
Do you know what a quarterback is, Sondre?
Something involving American football.
Yes, that's right. Not football, but American football.
Yeah.
On here. So, if anybody doesn't know, I'm a big-time sports fanatic, too. Like, I played 3 sports in high school, and I love sports. I often, the show's still kind of new to a lot of new fans out there of Wrestle Update, but I often will make sports references. So if it goes over your head, it's okay, because I can sometimes do that, and I apologize for any of that in the future. And if you're a fan, maybe you'll laugh at some of the things I say. But I'm super hype about sports, but, well, I don't want to lie to you either. I was going to say I was super hype about the show, but the show itself, I think there's been a lot of talk. I mean, if you listen to the last couple of weeks of me and Scott, I thought there was a long period between, Revolution and this, where there was some pretty bad Dynamite episodes.
Yeah.
Things were not really paying off to any degree. It was a hard watch. There's a lot of talk. It wasn't just me that said this. A lot of the 4 Pillar stuff just was not clicking. I think they had a 2-week period where they really righted the ship. And it just so happened to be the first 2 episodes of Wrestle Update. So I think Tony Khan really tried to, he knew Wrestle Update was coming, so he tried to impress us, I think, and had his best foot forward. But then the Go Home episode happened, and it was a very weird Go Home with things like Sabu randomly coming in. And they set up some matches that probably were supposed to hit a little bit better than they did, like the Fletcher and OC match. So the Go Home show was a bit of I don't want to say step back because it wasn't as bad as what they were doing a month ago or so. But the 2 weeks prior, I thought, were really strong build-ups. You turned things around with a lot of the feuds. You had the great angle where Hangman Page returned, which is a legendary moment in AEW. And so it's been a real rocky road, a long story short, of this build-up to this Double or Nothing. And before we get into the show itself, Sondre, what did you think going into the show? What was kind of your vibe check heading into the show?
I had no hype for this show. This show was, on paper, before it happened, was a one-match show for me. And that was the main event, the Anarchy in the Arena match. That was the only match that I was, invested in on going into this. And, I don't know, it's... Everything else were, not interesting to me. I am sick and tired of Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett challenging for the tag titles. A Jericho feud has not done it for me for, years. Mm-hmm. And the four-way Pillars match, there are very, I'm just a big fan of one guy in that 4-way, and the rest of them are just okay for me. So it was very much a one-match show for me.
Yeah, and I think that's very logical. And it's important to mention, you're probably a bigger fan of other wrestling outside of AEW. Do you watch Dynamite every week?
I watched Dynamite every other week in full. There are I always have to wait until the day after Dynamite to decide if I'm going to watch it in full. But
yes,
most of the times I only end up watching like a couple of matches and segments.
Yeah, keep in mind you are European, so like the show airs at like midnight or something over there live, so you have to wait for it.
Yeah.
But the point being is you're not like a diehard AEW fan.
I have been though. I have been an AEW fan since the start.
Yeah. Me too.
Just in the last year they have killed a lot of interest for me.
Yeah, I mean I think that's the story for a lot of people.
Which at the start of this year it started coming back a bit. Like I was the first few months for AEW this year was very like hype for me, and I was because I was really into the Bryan Danielson and the MJF story. I was really into what they were doing with Konosuke Takeshita when he was on TV. The Moxley and Hangman story was great. So I like Revolution earlier this year was a great show.
Yeah, and I cannot wait to get into it. Yeah, Revolution was definitely over-delivered coming in. But the thing is, when you have Bryan Danielson in the main event, it's like automatically, like whatever problems we may have. I mean, just look at this show. Whatever problems you may have, Bryan will deliver in his match. And putting him in the main event, that's a guy that, like, he's such a valuable commodity for this show that he's always there to fall back on. And he showed in the post-show media scrum that his mind for wrestling is so strong that he's a guy that, you really look at. And so, yeah, there was obviously a lot of the build, too, was revolving around Collision, rumors of CM Punk, CM Punk going after Brian Alvarez, things like that. They had a meeting beforehand. It's been reported. It wasn't just reported. Brian said it himself on the media scrum that they had a meeting the day before this show about social media etiquette or whatever, pretty much. Basically saying like, hey, it's been reported again. It's not like I was there, but according to what I've read, it was something to the effect of, we know you guys are talking to the dirt sheets, but make sure that they know what off the record means. Try and remember to talk off the record as much as possible, because some of these guys, maybe some of these reporters out there, they don't even know what off the record means, which I think is kind of interesting to think about. It is like, is that true? I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but you'd think that would be easy, like to know about. Yeah. But basically, they were just trying to get their ducks in a row, and it said it was positively received, pretty much. And
that is something AEW has needed to do for a long time, is to just tell the talent to stop talking all the time online.
Yeah,
because it led to the whole Punk debacle last year, which was killed almost everyone's interest in AEW. It killed me it made sure that I didn't care about AEW for like the rest of the year.
Yeah. And I think they're purposely trying to avoid that right now.
Which is good. I'm happy they are doing that.
Yeah, and it was led by, I forget his name. I'm sorry, I apologize. I wish I had it in front of me. But it was somebody who had worked in WWE at the past, basically led the meeting. And they said it was very well received. It wasn't like they were trying to be like, condescending, like, finger wagging at you or whatever. It was more like trying to be helpful, which I think is a good thing. And they're like, that's a good thing. They're doing the right things. And that's the thing I said on last week's episode of Wrestle Update. I know a lot of people rag on Khan a lot, Tony Khan, but he has managed to do a lot of things for a 4-year company that nobody would have anticipated, and has done a lot of great things, even though there's been a lot of issues lately, the last year or so.
Yeah.
But I think he's smarter than some people give him credit for, and I was anticipating to see if he would learn anything from what happened. And it looks like they're at least trying. But, a funny part is they put Brian on there, and he said, I might not be the best person for this. In my interviews, I talked about apples being semen from trees. That's not really a good thing to say, which is very funny to think about him going up and saying this. But it's something I totally see him saying. But and they try to mention that, hey, when you talk online, that's that still counts as a way to get your character and your feuds over and stuff like that. You can still reach people through interviews. But the point is, morale had taken a positive spin before the show. Because I think, obviously, there's a lot of discontent for a while. And they had this meeting, and it seems like they cleared a few errors and did some good things the night before. So
that's good.
And that's where the positive ends as we get into the show now. But no, I'm just kidding. But the show started off, they had the international title 21-man Blackjack Battle Royal. And so the build up to this is Orange Cassidy's the champion, and he's been on this record-setting run or whatever where he's basically defended the title every week, and he's basically defending the title until the wheels fall off. Every week he has a new injury, there's tape on a new part of his body, he's selling it, and all of that stuff. So that's the story they're telling, but he's like such a champion that he can't stop defending it. So he said on the Go Home show that he's like, I'll take anybody on who wants a match. And then they literally said 20 people went into Tony Khan's locker room to challenge. So they set up this battle royal that way. And they started here. What did you think of this battle royal overall with the international title on the line?
It was as clustered as every battle royal in AEW is, where there are good spots that are like very giftable, but utterly like nothing really sticks with me. Everyone got some shine in, and that's about it. Like, and honestly, it should have. In the end, I was just asking myself, this should have just been Swerve versus Orange Cassidy, because that was with the last like 5 minutes, those two like really saved this match to be like memorable, kind of.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. To me, this was just any generic battle royal, but with a great ending that made the match better. Because Swerve to me is a main event level talent.
Oh yeah.
They don't push him that way at all, unfortunately. To me, he's one of the guys, like Wrestling Observer Awards always have the category of like most underpushed, most underrated, whatever. He would be the front runner for that for me. He's the guy on this roster.
Yeah.
And Roosh as well. I think those two would be my top picks as well. But, Swerve is right up there though. He's got charisma, great talker, fantastic wrestler. We saw what they were doing in the tag scene with the Acclaimed. I mean, those matches with him and Keith really put them on the map and had better matches than they'd ever had. And he was a big reason why. I mean, I think he's a fantastic performer. He showed here. This was basically a nothing battle royal, and they made it good by the end with him and OC. So I think Cassidy deserves some credit. I said it before, and we actually talked a little bit about this off the air. I don't think this... Like, he's done as good of a job as you can do. It's not his fault at all. Like, he deserves praise for being one of the best parts of the show over the past few months. Even when things were going down, he's done a great job. I just don't think this character, like, this fits for his character. He had a comment in the post-show media scrum where he talked about how much it meant to him to be a workhorse. But his character is that he's lazy. So he's the lazy workhorse is who we have here. Like, that goes against him. I think somebody like Swerve would be a great fresh face to the title, but I also understand that maybe with MJF as world champion, you don't want heels holding all the titles.
Yeah.
Especially when his gimmick is that he really never wrestles that much. So it kind of fits having a character like this be that way. I just think it would have been better with somebody else. And Swerve needs to get pushed, man. Like, this guy needs to get some stuff here. Again, in the rest of the Battle Royal, there was really nothing that stood out particularly. The only spot that I really noted was with Commander.
Oh, yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he did good, but then unfortunately basically eliminated himself when he tried to do the rope walk trick. And
the rope guy was always going to be eliminated, though.
Yeah. I mean, you knew it was going to be that way. A lot of talk about Switchblade here.
Yeah, I was just about to mention. It is quite funny for me that Jay White went from main eventing the Tokyo Dome in January to now being in this like 21-man battle royal that is just filled with everyone that isn't doing anything. Because he isn't doing anything. he is just in this never-ending feud with Ricky Starks and... Yeah, Ricky Starks.
Yeah, Juice is his buddy.
Yeah. It's kind of like... It's a very big downgrade for him. In terms of importance, you know?
Yeah. I said it on last week's episode. I hated his run in New Japan. I thought he was really bad.
I agree.
Yeah, so I thought he was like way overrated. It amuses me to see this where he was hyped as this huge star.
Yeah, that is why I'm not sad about this, is because I didn't like his New Japan run.
Yeah, so you're with me on this. I know some people are huge fans of his, but I think that, like, and the thing is, again, compare somebody like Swerve, compare him to somebody like Roosh. Those guys have about the same opportunities, maybe even less than him, but every time they're on there, they prove like that they deserve more.
Yeah, the guy he eliminated today, Commander, looked way better than he has done in a long time. So
obviously he a different style, but he is a guy that Jay has had a main event match against Ricky Starks, and he was completely average in it, which is kind of like his baseline.
Everyone else is like making sure they get, when they get opportunities, that they shine more. And Jay White doesn't do that, even when he gets the opportunities.
The one thing I will say is maybe Tony Khan didn't see as much of his Japan work as maybe just all of his matches. He only saw a few of them. But I think they do him, I will give him this. They did him a disservice because what's going to make him stand out is his promo ability, and they haven't given him that. All of his segments, he's on TV every week. It's not like he's forgotten about. But a lot of the times, it's him doing a backstage attack. Which is not going to be the best use of him.
He has always been best at just dropping promos. Like, that's why he has that as many fans as he has.
Yeah, his character
is a great talker.
Yeah, his character, his push, his promo. And I think the character doesn't even work anymore either. I mean, Bullet Club, that's not a main event angle in 2023, no matter how you slice it. So he's got a lot working against him. I think that he's a guy that, a lot of fans were hyped for, but this is basically where I expected him to go. On this roster, we talked about it a bit off the air too when we were talking about Stardom. AEW has a little bit of that too, where they have so many guys that you have to be really special to stand out, And if you're at his level of in-ring, then in AEW, I think it's a bad fit for him. His promos are what he's going to need. But still, though, I think he might probably, whatever singles match he would have had would have been better than the next match on the show.
But one more thing.
Yeah.
Bullet Club, like Gold, can't really be a main event thing because it's only 2 members. It's only these 2. So it's kind of lame.
Yeah, I mean, it's lame no matter what, but I think that if they had a faction, I think that would make him feel bigger. Like a big, a leader of a group always feels kind of bigger automatically. I mean, it's worked well. I mean, with the other Bullet Club in Japan, Finlay has done a great job with his push, and I think the faction stuff helped him. Yeah. But again, factions can't help everybody, as we saw in the next match, where we had the unsanctioned match featuring Sabu, Roderick Strong, and the Jericho Appreciation Society, and Saraya, all involved in this. This was a terrible match, I would say.
This is the lamest unsanctioned match I've ever seen. It is. Like, they did nothing with the whole unsanctioned part of it.
No. It ended with a referee stoppage. I thought it was unsanctioned. What happened?
Yeah. So, the best part of this match was that Sabu was actually brawling, and he did the, table spot.
Yeah.
And instantly when Sabu went backstage, after, everyone brawled backstage, and right after that happened, the crowd couldn't give any less of a fuck. They didn't care at all until Britt Baker and Saray came out.
It's a shame because I think you actually didn't like this match so much, but I thought the Jericho Strong match was a ton of fun. Like, brawling around the arena.
I mean, Jericho and Strong was way better than this, but I wasn't that big of a fan as other people were of that.
Would you have been a bigger fan if it was a chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla that they went into? What's your favorite flavor of ice cream, Sondre? The people need to know this.
I'm actually not that big of a fan of dairy products in sweet.
Okay. Yeah. I hear you. That's like, I'm honestly not a big fan of sweet stuff either, like desserts or anything like that. But ice cream's kind of like my one vice on that level. I don't really eat any candy or cake or anything like that. I'm not a big cake fan. But give me a bowl of ice cream or an ice cream cone, and I'll take it. But regardless, so that popped me. I think it gave it ice cream bias was in effect for that match. And there was no ice cream in this match, therefore it was awful. But
they weren't even walking brawling.
No.
They were just brawling in the ring and very slow brawling. Like
this goes to the point I made on last week's episode, and why I didn't understand why they were doing this here. They probably were told not to do anything crazy because the main event was Anarchy in the Arena. So why would you do an unsanctioned match on the same show as Anarchy in the Arena where you're going to have to, try to make it different and be subdued? Because if they just did all the same stuff as Anarchy in Arena, that would mess up the main event. So they tried to do it differently. It just didn't work at all for the unsanctioned match type, and it ended up sucking. So, I mean, look at this. Look at this ratings. 3.68 rating.
Too high.
Cage match. Too high, according to Sondre right now. It's even a 1.5 star is too high in Sondre's book. It needs to be 0.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of people, like, I haven't seen a single one of the people I follow or am friends with say that this match was good.
No, I mean, there was a couple of outliers that liked this match on Cage Match. And I mean literally 2. Like maybe 3 if you want to count the 8s, and you get a few 7s. But the highest pick of all the numbers on Cage Match was 5. 71 5 out of 10 votes. But there were also 16 at either 1 or 0, which I think is probably where I would have it. And if you look at the comments, there was a couple that said this was the worst pay-per-view match in history of AEW. To me, to me, the Swole and Britt Dennis match was probably worse than this. I would say
there are a lot of like pay-per-view matches that are forgotten about.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one that stands out in my mind. I think was that Dennis match. That was just a terrible, terrible match.
During the pandemic All-In show, the Jericho and Orange Cassidy, like...
Oh, yeah! The Mimosa match.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. I would take that over this, though. I think that was better than this, though.
The match where Matt Hardy concussed himself so much that they had to end it, and they still kept going. That's
what I was thinking, too. That would be my top 3, I think. That, the Dennis match, and this would be my bottom 3, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
The worst part is that this feud's going to continue, because they set up later on with Saraya and Jericho teaming up. Nobody needs more of this.
That's the problem with Jericho. Every Jericho feud goes like 5 months longer than it needs to go. Like, it should only last like a couple of weeks, but they drag it out so long. Like last year, I will never forgive AEW for having Jericho feud with Bryan Danielson for like all of the summer. It was annoying because it took away like great matches Bryan Danielson could have had.
You said you'll never forgive him. Even when you die, you're never going to forgive him ever.
I don't. Jericho has reached a point of like, I don't care about him at all. There are very few times I actually enjoy him these days.
I was among the first of his haters in AEW. Even when everyone liked him, I didn't think he was the right choice to be the first champion.
Oh, yeah.
I think the problem with him right now is he wants to prove himself for whatever reason. Like, he wants to prove... Oh, look at this match. I mean, how many spots in this match did he end up botching because he wasn't athletic enough? You know, look at the Panama Sunrise. I mean, that was ridiculous looking. You know, a lot of these moves looked horrible. And he's trying to prove... Remember the time he messed up the Lion Salt? And then he did it the next week and was like, yeah, I can still do this. That's what it feels like a lot of this run is right now, where he's trying to prove himself for some reason. When you don't have anything to prove, man, you're already a legend. You know, you have had a great career. You know, who cares if somebody hates on your botching or whatever? Like, you know, he can do a lot of great things, but not how they've used him lately. And obviously the pacing of the feud is another big problem. Because remember, the feud with Ricky Starks, me and Scott talked about it last week. A big reason why that didn't work at all. The whole feud was built around Ricky trying to fight Jericho again and getting the win.
Yeah.
After he had already beaten him first.
Yeah.
You know, like, you didn't have to do that. And I think that's another thing he's trying to prove. Like, by taking all of these losses, because that's a very large amount of criticism has been laid upon his feet on that, about being too selfish. But he loses a lot, too. But sometimes he loses too much in a way that's not beneficial to the story. And I think the same thing happened here, where he had already lost to Roderick in that match, which is unanimously considered better than this.
Yeah.
And I think that ended up hurting this, where he had already lost to Roderick. So why are we, you know, they tried to do the personal feud with Britt and Saraya, and I think that's another person. Saraya is another person that a lot of AEW fans aren't too high on right now. And, I don't think that helped a lot. But
I don't blame them.
Oh, yeah, me either. Me either. But there's also something to be said. I mean, Cole is not a great in-ring performer, in my opinion.
He tried his best in this match, though, but yeah.
Yeah. Like, I saw a comment on Caterers where somebody said, and I've liked his run. I thought his promo when he came back was among the best segments in Dynamite history. Like, I think that was an amazing... I like his character. His babyface character is mostly good. I think in the ring, this was not a great way to showcase him. And much like we talked about Jay, he hasn't really been able to have that shining match, that big moment that he's proved himself as a top-tier worker. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work. And a lot of people speculate that maybe they were going a little easier just to make it be safer. And I don't know if that's true at all. I'm not going to say that. I think he did try his best. I agree with you on that.
Cole took a pretty brutal bump to the outside through the table. Yeah. I don't think he was holding back at all.
I agree. I agree. I don't agree with those people who said that. I think he really tried hard. I think Jericho tried hard. I don't think effort is his problem at all. I just think it
is also that this storyline has not been good. Yeah, I don't like the storyline. They have gone back. They have had the same segment for like the whole feud. I beat up your girlfriend that one time and you couldn't do anything. And they have done that. They have gone back to that clip like multiple times. That's the only thing that is like the heat of this story.
That segment was so stupid on the Go Home show at the contract signing, where he was like, "You beat up Britt right in front of me because you're a gutless coward, because I was tied up and you couldn't bear me being free to stop you." And then Jericho was like, "Well, that's not what happened at all. What really happened was this." And then he went to the screen, and that's exactly what happened that he just showed on there. So, that segment was so dumb and awful.
So dumb.
Sabu, why was Sabu here?
He was there to make the crowd care.
Yeah, well, you're right.
That is actually the only reason I think he was here, was to pop the crowd. And to get us to just laugh because he was randomly inserted into this.
Yeah, this is the most random AEW cameo of all time, I think, here was Sabu. But yeah, this match was really bad, and everybody agrees on that pretty much. That's why it has such a low rating. this was one of the lower rated AEW matches. That would be interesting. The cage match lowest rated pay-per-view matches, what you would get out of him there. But I think this would have to be up there. The next match was the tag title match. Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, your favorite group, with Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt, and the new addition, Karen Jarrett, to really. That's when you know the feud's really hot, when Karen is in here. They took on FTR, and we talked about this after the show, or before the show. This was a TNA match, ultimately. If you have nostalgia for that, I think you'll rate it higher, because a lot of people like this, actually, and I think that's the reason why, because if you judge it as like a match in ring quality, this wasn't going to bring it ever. I mean, we all knew that going in. So I think they had to use the smoke and mirrors, so to speak, to make this work.
Quick update. I checked. The lowest rated AEW pay-per-view match of all time is Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara from All Out 2020. Yep. At a 0.58 rating.
Ouch.
Yeah. Well, it deserves that, because that...
Yeah, that was an awful match. So, according to Cage Match, this was like 7 times better than the Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara match, the unsanctioned match was. It was 7 times the match that match was. At least
in the unsanctioned match this year, like, nobody could have died. Like, Matt Hardy should not have continued going after he broke his skull or whatever.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the accurate pick. I would say that's the worst match. I would say good job, Cage Match. The inmates did us right there.
Yeah, but yeah, this was such a TNA jerk off. I hate this. It is exactly what I hate about AEW, is when they pander to a niche like this. Like, they have done this before with random callbacks to NXT storylines also. Like when they did the Undisputed Elite or whatever.
Yeah.
Which was bad. And this is also bad. Like, who wants to be reminded of TNA storylines? Come on. Jeff Jarrett is not someone that should be wrestling these days. Again, he's 55 years old. This guy should not be wrestling. I respect him for his contribution to wrestling or whatever, but no. Just be a trainer backstage. Don't take title matches on pay-per-views. It actively makes me so mad, because FTR is one of the best tag teams in the world, and they have to face Jay Lethal and his random dude that shouldn't be wrestling anymore.
I think the reason why I can deal with this is basically the opposite of what I just said with Jericho. Jarrett knows exactly who he is. He knows his limits. He knows that he can't do the work rate stuff anymore. And so you're doing this Memphis Heat stuff a lot. And I'm born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. So I can totally appreciate that. But he knows what he is. This match didn't try to be anything other than what it was, which was a goofy TNA match where the highlight of it was Karen Jarrett hitting Aubrey Edwards with a guitar.
That was the highlight of it.
Exactly. They knew exactly what they were doing. Is it what I would have wanted? No. No.
The thing is, couldn't it had gone 10 minutes shorter?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that is a flaw with the match. They drug this out. They tried to do a bit because Mark Briscoe was the special referee.
Yeah.
And the feud has been less egregious than, I would say, a lot of the other feuds on AEW. I mean, you had a very funny segment with them at the farm. You had a pretty good segment. I think Mark has done a great job in his acting. The only part that was really stupid was when he gave him the pile driver, the blind pile driver. That was just a little too silly for my book. But this is a TNA feud, ultimately. And like I said, it knew what it was. It didn't try to be more. So I can at least respect it on that level more than the previous match, which I thought was just failing at what it, like, trying to do something it couldn't do, ultimately.
And
yeah.
A big issue I also have with this, like, I don't want to sound like I hate Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, because, like, I respect both of them for, like, their work in the past. But
yeah, the past. Yes.
This is the second pay-per-view in a row with them in a tag title match.
Yeah.
And that is insulting. When you have the talent that AEW has, and they, in the tag title feud, like and the tag title match on a second pay-per-view in a row is Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. It's kind of, it's insulting to the Lucha Bros and to, like, anyone else. I struggle to remind me, like, Rouge and Dralistico or something like that could have been better.
All those teams that use them in Ring of Honor right now instead of AEW. But it's a fair point, though. And that's the thing, it's like...
Best friends.
Yeah, that would probably be... You could get more out of that if they wanted to build to a grudge match of some sort. Yeah, people joke about them, but actually, remember, they had the amazing arcade match, in the street fight with Santana and Ortiz. Where are they at? Santana's been injured for a long time.
Both Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta was in the, like, random Battle Royal, by the way.
Yeah.
Were you talking about Santana?
Yeah, where's he been? He's been injured.
Yeah, I think... Are they both injured?
I guess. I mean, Ortiz was doing the deal with Kingston for a while, but they kind of cut that off.
Yeah. Where's Eddie Kingston?
Not on this show. I guess he's a Ring of Honor guy. So
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's very important. Big difference maker.
Big difference.
But hey, listen, we're headed towards brighter days ahead. Even though, the Cage Match fans didn't hate this, it was 6.35 rating. I mean, it's not great, but I'd probably be closer to a 5.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hate this.
I would probably be at a 4, but yeah.
Yeah, I know you had an anti-Jarrett agenda right now.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it as much as the last match for sure. That would be like a 1. the first match. Here's what I don't understand. How did FTR get to the backstage so fast?
Because, yeah, they ran.
Yeah, because so they cut to an interview with Ricky Starks, and then he immediately gets attacked by Jay and Juice, and then FTR suddenly show up to run them off, which is like, you just were in the ring for that match. How did you get back there so fast? On there. That was very random, but it looks like Juice and Jay could be the next tag title challengers, which could be even worse than what we've been seeing lately if things to go by.
Yeah, that should be on Dynamite.
Jay, say what you want about him. Juice, his promos are atrocious.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the worst talkers, which I don't understand at all, because as a babyface, he was actually very charismatic and likable in New Japan. Good talker, was always saying funny things, great personality. What he did, even in the backstage segments, Jay has been smart enough to not say that much when they've done these beatdowns, but Juice is so just cringe. He's awful. I hate his promos so much.
Yeah.
The match itself, we will see. Like you said, hopefully that's a Dynamite match. That's not a pay-per-view caliber deal, in my opinion. FTR, like you said,
door.
And maybe it'll be, New Japan Past or whatever. They have their, you would hope. Listen, it could be House of Torture versus FTR, which could be worse than all of this.
It should be Bishamon versus FTR in the rematch, but
let us pray that does happen. Bishamon can save us from House of Torture in this. So then we cut from there to another promo where Jericho's pissed, Soraya's pissed. They're basically saying that they need to have a tag match on Dynamite. A huge draw.
Even Jericho is screaming, this needs to stop, when he's talking about him and Adam Cole feuding. And I agree. This needs to stop, Jericho.
Listen, Jericho, say what you want about him, but he's honest.
Yeah.
That's a promo here. big draw for Dynamite. This is the big hook that they gave you as a viewer.
Only match announced yet.
I mean, that's all you need, really, when you see a match of this caliber after that unsanctioned match.
Is it really?
I think that's what everybody says, right? That, like, if there's one person you tune in for, it's Saraya in AEW. I'm sure someone said that. Her, maybe?
Maybe her.
Yes.
Her boyfriend.
Yes, her boyfriend, yes. Has probably likely said that. But other people, it's going to be interesting to see. But, they brought back the Fireball, too, from Jericho, which is about the only way they can make his current gimmick worse than it is already to bring back that stuff. It was totally random. Why did they do that? I don't know. But we'll see what happens next. So they finally moved on to the next match, which was the TNT title. The ladder match, Christian Cage versus Wardlow. Christian has been a fantastic promo.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's like one of the best talkers in the company, hands down.
Yeah. So I was like mad at Legends taking title matches at pay-per-views during the last match. This match, I'm totally okay with it because it's Christian. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's still awesome to this day. He's a guy that, like, always gets heat. Great promos on Arn, great promos on Wardlow, great promos on even Jungle Boy. Still, even trying to hype him up as, like, a dickhead heel. Christian is the man, and we all do this anyway.
He should have won this.
Yeah, the ladder match, I honestly thought, considering where Christian was with his injuries and everything going on, this had way more heat than what we had seen in the first few matches.
Yeah.
Even if it was just for chanting at Christian for wearing a turtleneck that time, which...
I thought this was, like, the best match up until this point of the show.
Yeah. Easily the best match, I in my opinion. As a full match, I thought this way overachieved. Like I said, going into it, you think, oh man, Christian's had injuries, he's a little bit older, what can he do? But he really made it work here, and as you would expect, because his mind for wrestling is so great. And I thought Wardlow did a pretty good job as well.
Yeah. It was better than I expected from Wardlow. And I think that was because Christian was such a good, like, heel for him to work off with.
Yeah, wasn't afraid to take bumps. I mean, look at that. He hit him with that Alabama slam onto the ladder. Looked devastating on there.
Yeah.
For the big swanton, great
That was
spot.
cool. That was a very cool spot. And, like, Christian should have won after that because Wardlow was dead.
Totally. It's like, man, I was really impressed with what they did here. The only part that was weird is when Arn bit Luchasaurus.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that was a crazy deal going in there. Arn looked insane with the blood coming out of his thumb. It's like, man, what an unexpected, like, dangerous.
How great was that, like, catch powerbomb that Wardlow did?
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah.
When Arn was like made the ladder tilt and like Christian landed on top of Wardlow and he caught him and did like this awesome powerbomb.
That's good.
Like this was a great match for Wardlow, but like again, this was what the show needed because it finally shot some energy into the crowd.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I know a lot of people have been down on Wardlow. I like Wardlow. I think he's got a great look. He's proven in these kind of matches that he's delivered multiple times in like these gimmick type of matches. I thought the match with Hobbs was really cool.
A very uninteresting promo.
Yeah, you would hope Arn is there to help counteract that.
Yeah,
pretty much. They haven't really been able to get there. I think the problem is Christian's so great.
Yeah.
That even if you're Arn Anderson, he's still going to outshine you. I think if Arn were matched up against somebody else, he would be able to have a great promo battle. And they never even got to that, really, with Arn versus Christian on the mic. You know, they basically had a very quick segment where he was like, I dare you to spit in my face. And then it led to a brawl right away instead of, I want to see Arn and Christian have a mic battle going in there. But I think, yeah.
The thing that helped this match a lot was that it was a gimmick match. If this would have been just a normal singles match, I think it would not have had the welcome it had.
I think that's the problem with this whole show, though. Again, is like every match is a gimmick match.
That is also a problem.
And I think that they would have been smarter if they had again, if let Jericho and Cole do their match on Dynamite. Like let them have the big brawl there. Save all that stuff for the main event. Keep it to the Anarchy Arena match and then the ladder match, and that's it. No more special referees or guitars, any of that crap. If you had taken those two matches off the pay-per-view and just let this be the only, gimmick match, I think it would have been even better, or stand out even more. But I liked it as it is. It has a 6.82 rating. I'd actually give it a full recommendation. I'd give it a 7 if it were up to me. So I actually think it's a little underrated. Yeah,
I would probably be at the 6.5 or something like that. I gave it a 3.25.
Yeah, 3.25 star. I give it 3.5. Pretty much up there. So I like the match for what it was. So you're pretty much in line with the inmates there. But still, though, I didn't have high expectations for this match either.
No,
I thought they overachieved.
Me neither. This overachieved a lot. But I think also because the two previous matches was so not worth it at all. So.
Yeah, see, maybe it made it look a little better to you. But I liked it. I thought it was legitimately a good ladder match overall.
Yeah.
So I liked what they did there. We finally felt like we had something to at least – I mean, I'm not going to say it saved the show, but it got us at least maybe on track. But we would see where we were going, and then it would go off again.
Yeah.
So basically, they did a deal where they set up the women's title match. The feud has been the Outcast versus Toni Storm and Britt and friends. They basically rotate people in and out. Right now, Sheeta is the third person. But it's been a real basic storyline. They beat down everybody every week. Maybe there's some spray paint involved. But it all led to this match. Hayter coming in with an injury, as you can clearly tell if you have a brain cell, after watching this match. They started off the thing where Toni came out to challenge, and they played Hayter's music, but then she didn't come out. So then they played it again, but then this time Saraya and Ruby are beating down Hayter to set up the injury angle, to protect her pretty much. 3-on-1,
yeah.
Where was Britt and Sheeta for all of this? Because they would run in during the match, but not while they were actively beating her down on here, which is a very stupid oversight. They did some cheating stuff early on. Saraya is about to cheat right away, but then Britt finally comes in to fight Saraya. Then Sheeta runs in with the kendo stick to brawl with Ruby to take her out. But in the end, Storm hit her with the Storm Zero to win. It was a 2-minute match. Just to protect. I can't criticize this because of the injury, and I really give her credit for at least gutting it out and doing this. And it was the right move to take the belt off of her. Obviously, it's not what you would want in a title match.
It is. The Jamie Hayter reign was so good, and it's so sad for her. The best women's title reign since maybe Hikaru Shida held it, to end like this with her in the injury angle. And it sucks, but if Jamie's so hurt that she can't wrestle for a few months, this is the best outcome.
I think the tragic part is her reign actually wasn't that good because of their booking, not because of her. It's because she's been an afterthought player for 6 months now, ever since she won the title. As a wrestler, we love Jamie Hayter.
But the defenses were so good. That's the thing.
I mean, she had the one versus Emmy that was really good.
And the Rio match. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so, you are right about that. When they put her in there with those folks, you could have
Joshes. Yeah.
Yeah, all the Japanese wrestlers gave her these great matches. That Sheeta match was one of the best Dynamite matches that, to me, in the history of the show. And the other ones were really good, too. So you are right that, and that's the thing, we love Jamie Hayter. It's not, nobody's doubting her talent. It's the booking has been so bad. She should have been the absolute centerpiece story of the women's division for the last 6 months. And instead, she was stuck in this stupid Outcast feud.
Yeah. And it's lame.
Yeah, it sucks.
It is though. It's good that they played it safe, because I really hope that Jamie Hayter can make it to the Wembley show healthy, because that is such an important show for her, because she's
true.
from
from England. Yeah.
And it's also important for me because I want to see Jamie Hayter live.
Oh, he will be there live at the Wembley show, by the way. He's already got the tickets. So, obviously, you're rooting for that. But I actually think that this could be bad now, but could turn into a blessing later. Because her winning the title might be even better than if she came in as champion. I think so also. Yeah, see, and Tony's a good wrestler. I have nothing against Toni Storm at all. I thought she did a great job solidifying that title. I thought that to me was one of the best title reigns.
Tony and Jamie has really great chemistry also. So, them in a singles match without the Outcast always interfering could be really great.
One thing I didn't like either too is that they portrayed this as a heel win for Tony, and it was, but they also didn't mention that this is basically exactly how Jamie beat Tony 6 months ago, because remember Britt was the heel back then, and they basically it was turnabout fair play, but the announcers were not saying that at all. That's the other thing I don't know what you thought about the commentary, but the
commentary is never good.
Yeah.
This also makes Toni Storm the first ever 2-time women's champion in AEW.
Yeah, that's a big, and she deserves it because remember a lot of her reign was that interim controversy and all that stuff. They made a big deal out of that overall, but now she doesn't have to worry about that this go around. Just like you said, my only fear is that it's going to be a lot of Outcast stuff.
That is my fear also.
Yeah, because that might end up messing up some stuff going in. And they have the talent, just the booking has really let them down. It's not like I'm saying anything original here. I think a lot of people think the women's division has not been handled very well for a vast majority of its existence. But, on the commentary note, I think it was JR was the worst.
As he always is.
Yeah. You could tell that a lot of this stuff just wasn't great. And the thing is, the show wasn't great. I'm not going to blame him for that. But also, it's your job to try and elevate it, not necessarily be what he does. Do what he does on commentary. Now, Excalibur and Taz and Tony, they're fine to me. They have good energy. They always have some good stuff. Excalibur tries his best, and I like that he puts the effort in. Overall though, but JR coming in I think really hurt. He really wasn't missed at all. You have to wonder what they were thinking bringing him back in for this. I don't think he added a lot. But what also doesn't add a lot is House Rules here. What do you think of House Rules here? Because we've seen a couple of different iterations of it already.
I really don't like them.
Yeah.
Anytime a match has to do production to make it unique, it takes away from the match for me. Like this, I just noticed that dancing lights in the background.
Oh, I hate that. Oh my God.
Bad.
Yeah, that to me is worse than the first week where they just shut the lights down. Yeah. I thought, okay, this isn't perfect, but I like that they're trying to do something different. Second week with the gyro ball lights or whatever, that's awful. They've got to stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good experience for the people in the audience either.
Yeah,
the crowd. Probably right. They probably missed a lot of spots because the lights are so weirdly dimmed, on the outside and stuff like that.
Well, also, we're going to have you back after the Wembley show, and you tell us how how you have House Rules.
Please no.
House of Black is coming to your town, baby.
Oh, London is not my town. That would be.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I apologize to our Norwegian friends.
Yeah. I don't know. This isn't doing those House Rules matches aren't doing anything to me. None of them has been good.
Yeah.
And they tried in this match, but it wasn't anything special.
The highlight of this was clearly the rap that Max Caster had.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I gotta say, he's a guy that I was kind of critical of. I thought his flow sucked when he came into AEW, and he wasn't any good, but he's gotten a lot better on the mic here. And the crowd was really into this. He gave some great lines. He called Brody King RuPaul's Drag Race guy. He called Black he teased the main event with talking about blackface on Malachi Black, because he said, "How you get away with blackface, Black?" And he knew what was coming, I think. And then the most over person on this show to this point was Dominic Mysterio, because the crowd, every time Buddy was in the ring, they couldn't help themselves.
Oh, yeah, that was actually good.
It was good. That was the best part of the match to me.
A great line in the rap was, "How is there a House of Black with no black guys in it?"
Yeah.
And the thing I instantly thought about was, well, Max Caster, you should probably never look up black metal, because you will be disappointed about the lack of black guys in black metal.
The Norwegian coming with the black metal facts right now. Coming in. Hey, you just went to a show not that long ago.
Norway's biggest export, black metal.
And obviously, Black Malachi himself is a big fan of black metal with his aesthetic. So, Max Caster not respecting Norway and the black metal movement over there, clearly. The match was fine, honestly. I think that the crowd was a lot of fun in this. And that's something the Acclaimed always has, is that the crowd will ride with them no matter what they're doing, even if it's not that important. I mean, there really was no build to this match. It was totally random. I didn't even expect it at all. To be honest. So it's not like this match really meant anything. It was just a way to get House of Black a title shot.
This was 15 minutes.
That's another issue. Like, I think that's a lot of our problems could have been solved with these earlier matches if they cut them in half. Like 3 or 4 matches could have been cut in half.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This trios title reign for House of Black isn't doing that much for me because of all these house rules matches.
The thing is, I like the idea of... First of all, I love the idea that one of the rules is disqualifications will be enforced. Isn't that supposed to happen in every match? I guess in AEW, the rules don't always apply with their referees, so they're basically making fun of that. But I like that. I like the idea of, hey, the opposing team can pick their own rule. I think that could be a good gimmick to have special matches here and there.
Yeah.
But with the thing is, I kind of said this on the other show. For WWE, Seth Rollins, he's this guy who's... The WWE fans love his gimmick and his character. And for me, I'm totally out on it. Like, I think the ridiculous character really turns me off of him. And for AEW, House of Black is that for me. Because I see a lot of people talk about how great they are all the time. But to me, I hate their gimmick. I think they're so lame. Like Caster was totally on fire, burying calling them emo kids and stuff like that. Like, I'm all for that. And hey, they didn't even pick a match. They didn't even pick a stipulation, though. They didn't even follow the house rules. They said, we're not going to do that. So this was really just an excuse to... I think it's clear someone in production really loves these lights.
Yeah.
And they've got something really cool. It's just the problem is it totally sucks. And it's unfortunate that the fans have to get put through it at home or at the arena. But regardless of that, we move on. Again, that was a totally random match. I don't understand why they did it on the pay-per-view. But
just
it was
a House of Black title match. Yeah,
exactly. And I was happy to see the Acclaim. They deserve a lot more right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Bowens is a really talented wrestler.
I mean, the Acclaimed should have been in the tag title match. FDR and the Acclaimed would have been a way better tag title match.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a much better match.
It would be a rematch, but from...
Yeah, but that match was better than this one. It was also better than the next match, which was the TBS title match. Yeah, Jade Cargill defending her title versus Taya Valkyrie. I mean, this was pretty rough, I have to say.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, this was the point where I was really starting to get sick of the show. I told you off there, I was kind of thinking, man, I wish we had reviewed the NXT show instead as this match was going on.
I don't want to watch NXT.
Well, it had better ratings, but I mean, we'll get to it because the show's about to turn around. It's like, this is the end of the end of Heartache.
I really liked Jade's entrance. That was a great entrance.
That's the thing with her, all the pomp and circumstance is so strong. you could see why they've given her this push.
Yeah.
But the in-ring there's just nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing here. Like, this was an 8-minute match, and I can't recall, like, any spots in it.
I mean, it was pretty sloppy. They really messed up the finish. Taya is okay. She, at her best, I've watched her for a long time now. I remember watching her in AAA in Mexico.
Yeah.
She was an OG listener to Lucha Talk. She listened to the first episode. I saw her tweet about it. When it was said that. We're talking like 7 years ago now. She really improved in Mexico doing heavy brawls. Like her versus Ayako Hamada was a great match. Since she's come to America full time, she really hasn't been able to show that. And as a normal wrestler, there's not a lot there with her either. She's better than Jade. Like clearly better than Jade.
Well, but Jade doesn't have the experience.
Yeah, Jade is like a nothing in the ring. Taya is not a nothing, but she's not great either, and definitely not great enough to make this work with Jade overall.
Jade technically still counts as a rookie, by the way.
She's she's had 61 matches in her career.
And just a bit over 2 years of experience.
And most of them were, and they haven't done a service to her either, because she's constantly in these short matches. If they were smart, they would have her wrestling longer matches. Even to me, what I would do is, now they really can do it because Dark and Elevation are gone away. If it were me, I'd have her in matches before the show, every episode, 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes.
With actual good wrestlers also.
Yeah, like Emi Sakura, like the best coach, coach wrestlers. Her, Serena Deeb, people like that maybe you're not pushing at the moment, but they can help Jade get better. Put them in 20-minute matches before the shows, not aired anywhere, except for the in-ring performance, because they're going to be bad at first. And that's okay. That's okay. Everybody starts bad at first in wrestling. It's very rare that somebody can just walk into the business and just suddenly be great at it. The only time you see that is when you get people with special treatment, like celebrity people that they specifically train for one match over and over, not necessarily a guy coming in or a girl coming in to wrestle and be a real wrestler. That doesn't happen. So give her a chance. When you're putting her in these 2-minute matches all the time, how is she going to get better when all she does is work squash matches? At this, at least, they did give it a little bit longer, and we saw things were rough here. There were sloppy spots. They messed up the finish. It would have been hilarious if they had just counted the 3, because she didn't kick out on the road to Valhalla. But they stopped it anyway. Yeah. Jade messed up a kick afterwards, and then, it ended with Jaded. I mean, the feud idea is cool. I love the idea of a feud based on, hey, me and you, we have the same finisher. Who does it better? That's such an easy angle to run. And the feud was okay. It's just that the match was what it was. And they basically did some really nonsensical stuff.
The match was nothing because the moment after was more important. Yeah,
the match was bad, and it was important, but they did it in a nonsensical way, in my opinion, so she just had this match, probably her longest, or one of her biggest tests of her title reign, let's just say.
Yeah.
And they immediately get on there. Mark Sterling comes on there and says, there's no one left to beat Jade. She'll defend it right now. So that was kind of nonsensical. But it led to a moment that everyone really liked, which was Chris Statlander coming back from injury. She came in, felt like a big deal. Great moment for her. Again, pretty much right away she hit Saturday Night Fever to get the win. And,
what a shot in the arm this is to the women's division. Just her winning a title. And making sure that this title finally can have some great matches and not just squashes is just good. Yeah, if they hadn't had her lose here, I would have been so mad.
Well, they were going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is another where nothing against Statlander, but people talk about her like she's this great wrestler. But where is the evidence of that? If you look at her AEW run, I mean, there's just not a lot there, to be honest with you. And a lot of the stuff she had she was still green earlier. She's had some injury issues. But I'm not as hyped about her as a lot of people are. I do have to admit. It's great that she came back from the injury. You know, you don't wish injury on anybody. And she'll definitely be better than Jade because, like, Jade to me is a 0 in the ring. Like, you know, like, she's a 10. Like, her look, amazing. Really good promo. Great physical charisma. But skill-wise, there's nothing there. She'll be better than that. But I think it all really comes down to the booking. Again, Hayter had a lot of really good matches in her reign, but it still feels like an afterthought because of how they managed the title. The TBS title hasn't been able to be much. They put a lot into Jade at first, more than any other woman, more than Sheeta, when Sheeta was champion for sure. But the ring stuff wasn't there. So are they going to give Stat the same level of care and ability to show what she can do and show her abilities in the ring? Because maybe she can do some big matches. She hasn't really had the opportunity. You know, you look at her cage match profile, her best AEW match was against Bea Priestley in 2019. Like 7.12. Like, that's not that great, you know?
But that's not her best match, though, in AEW. Her best match is the Britt Baker match from All Out 2021. That's like one of the best Britt Baker title matches.
That has a 7.04, and I think that was an average match to me. Like, I didn't think that was anything special at all. Nor the B match, to be honest. Which is kind of my point with her. It's like, you know, she's this great wrestler who hasn't had great matches. And
I do think she can get the opportunity to do that now, though, because she finally has the title. And I think if they have like open challenges with this title and they actually give those matches time, it could be a very good title reign.
It's going to be up to the booking, and I think that, unfortunately, I don't have confidence. They have not given me reason to, and I'm sorry. I told you at the start of the show, I respect Tony Khan. I think he's underrated in some facets, but in terms of the women's division, it's been bad. Like, for the entirety of the company's existence. Like, the women's division has never been good. Like, throughout any time period, no matter who's the champion. Hikaru Shida, one of my absolute favorite wrestlers, for sure. Love her talent. Jamie Hayter, love her talent. Even Britt, a good champion. I'm not as big of a fan of hers as the others, obviously, but a fine champion. But none of this has been able to click whatsoever, for whatever reason. And I just don't foresee it happening here, but I hope that they can prove me wrong at least. And I think it'll be an upgrade over Jade, because Jade should not be on TV. Like, let's just be honest. Like, she should not be on TV wrestling. She needs to be in dark matches until she gets.
Random was the confetti.
Hey, that's still stuck around. That was still there during the special entrances they had. The 4-way. So
during the 4-way, Jungle Boy had like a bit of confetti stuck to his head. So
this whole segment was random. Like, the idea of this being it should be presented as a huge deal. Jade finally loses.
I honestly think this should have been on Dynamite.
Yes, exactly.
A closing angle of a Dynamite show.
That's exactly right. Stat should have debuted here, faced off with Jade, and said, Wednesday, you and me for the title.
And then they have
exactly
matches on Dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. But I think they're just too scared of Jade because they know that she's not going to deliver that main event match. So they just said, screw it, clear all that up, 30 seconds, and get out. And, let's focus entirely on the moment. The match doesn't even matter, which it doesn't. They totally overwrote the tie-up match, was this moment. So and I think that's why they did that. But if it were me, even if you risk it being not great, that's exactly what I would have done. Stat would have debuted. You would still got a big pop for her return. And basically just set up the match then. And you could have a promo at the start of the show. Stat versus Jade. Jade doesn't know what to expect. She's coming back from injury. But, and then build up to the main event. And then you have the big confetti celebration and all of that. And I think it would have meant more, too, because as I just said, they basically had to move on right away to the big 2 matches.
Yeah.
So
I think we should also.
Yeah, well, I was about to. The world title Fatal 4-Way match, which was Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman for the title in a 4 Pillars Fatal 4-Way match. The build to this has been completely up and down, and more down than up, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do think that they had something going with the sit-down interviews with people, and you had the mentors going after them. I will say I've been very impressed with Sammy's babyface promos. It's unfortunate that it doesn't resonate at all because they did that stupid MJF and Sammy stuff storyline that made him look like a complete idiot and just made him look like a total non-threat and was awful. One of the worst booking decisions was that whole deal to then move him to a babyface. And, I mean, he came out, again, another great babyface entrance. He come in. Ty Mello was there. They had the cue cards, which was a throwback to his old gimmick when he first came to AEW. And they pulled out the card, and it said that she's having a baby. So we'll say, regardless of the match, congratulations to Ty Mello and Sammy. Hopefully the baby's healthy, and y'all have a lot of happy times ahead. So I will say.
I hope so also.
The
thing about this whole thing was really funny because Jungle Boy just had a normal entrance, but everyone else had big entrances.
Yeah, I was going to write him down. Darby comes in. I mean, they have this video they played, which he probably shot himself. He finds somebody with an MJF mask on, a cardboard cutout, taped to his face or something. And he comes in, and suddenly he recruits the man I think we all knew was coming, Elvis. Or an impersonator, to be exact. I remember I am from Memphis. My grandma is a huge Elvis fan, so I did pop for this. But they beat the shit out of whoever this is, with the MJF cutout. Yeah. And he gives Elvis his love and then skateboards into the arena.
Darby the Wedding Crasher.
Yes, it was in Vegas, so that's what they were calling that for.
Yeah. That's
a well-known thing in Las Vegas to our international fans. A lot of people get married, but the priest is like an Elvis impersonator. If you're in Las Vegas, it's a weird thing. I don't understand it, but it's Las Vegas. So then you had MJF. He has this orchestra theme, that he comes up.
There's a take here. I have that Cody Rhodes left AEW so that MJF could be the biggest nerd entrance to guy, because MJF always has big over the top entrances that Cody used to have. And it's so Cody left, but we still have this guy that does nerd entrance.
Yeah, he comes in on a chair, a throne type of deal.
This is exactly what Cody Rhodes would have done.
But except he's wearing devil horns now, because that's it. He is a black metal fan. I think him and Malachi should be a team with this. He comes in with a devil mask. He's coming in with this dark orchestra music. They need to mix his song and Malachi's song to make an orchestra metal match. Cool. But the match, like I said, here's the thing: this has super high ratings on Cage Match right now.
A bit too high, but yeah.
The AEW fans love this. This was the match of the night to AEW fans. 9.06, which is a shade above the 9.02 for the main event. I didn't like it that much, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, same.
But the thing is, up to this point, this was not a good show.
Up to this point, none of the matches had felt like AEW pay-per-view matches on that quality.
No.
And this was the first that really felt like that.
A lot of them weren't even AEW TV quality. I thought this was a below average show, by any standards. I guarantee you the NXT show was better than what we saw for the, I haven't seen it yet, but I would be very surprised if it wasn't better in terms of wrestling than everything we've seen up to this point. The only thing that I really liked was the ladder match, and a lot of the stuff was really a drag. So to me, I wouldn't rate this a 9.06 out of 10. I wouldn't give it 4.5 stars or match of the year level or anything like that. But compared to what we have seen, this was like the real Four Pillars.
Yeah.
From All Japan Pro Wrestling was having a match compared to the earlier stuff.
Yeah. It felt urgent. It felt like everyone wanted to actually win. Everyone wanted to actually have a good performance and win. And it's like, Jungle Boy was hot, Sammy Guevara was putting on like a great performance because I think he was still living on the adrenaline that they had announced his kid was coming. Like, I felt like he wanted to put out this great performance. And that was what I felt like during the whole match, that they just want to prove that they belong here. And they actually did that. It went a bit too long. They had a promo angle in the middle of it that kind of killed the pace for me.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
It really killed the pace for me, and it felt a bit over dramatic.
Well, you kind of see MJF's kind of in that Cody verse level right now.
Yeah, except he's a better wrestler.
Maybe. Show me where he had that torn pec that Cody had.
True, I guess.
MJF probably has, definitely at AEW, he's more accomplished, like Cody was in terms of matches. I mean, him and Darby was one of the best matches. I mean, him and Bryan were the match of the year.
Yeah, MJF's a bunch of great spots in this match also.
You're right. You were right, honestly. I can't argue with you. I like Cody more than a lot of his haters. I don't mind him per se, but MJF is better. You were right.
It really just was the first match that felt like a truly all elite match. And that's why I think it's got a lot of high ratings, because this was the first match on the show that felt good. Like this felt must watch. This felt like pay-per-view level. And that's the biggest accomplishment they had.
It felt like something worth caring about, which I think the show really didn't have a lot of.
And the storyline, I didn't care about at all, but they made me care about it during the match, because I was rooting for Darby Allin to win, because he's my guy in this.
Yeah, Darby's the best wrestler of the four, in my opinion.
I think, in my opinion also.
Yeah, but they're all good. Like, okay, Jungle Boy, as a promo, he's like the reverse Jade, where he's like a great wrestler, but the promo is like a 0. And we all know that, and that's really hurt the build-up. But in the match, this is kind of what I figured going in. I thought, because a lot of criticism was laid at this story, but I thought that the match would deliver and impress people, and I think it did. I think it might have gotten even a bump because of the the negative reaction going into it. I think that made people like the match more, but I knew that these guys are all good workers. Like, all 4 of these guys can deliver in the ring. And the one thing I will say that I didn't love is especially the first half of the match, and you kind of mentioned the spot with MJF, which is one of the bigger, most egregious offenders of this. I thought they got a little too cute. We saw them doing a lot of the choreographed stuff, like, oh, I'm going to do Sting's move, but then I'll do Christian's move.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, like, that was, like, so fake-looking that and again, it's AEW, so we all have our suspension of disbelief, but to me, they just got a little too cute early on, but when they got to the second half and they got past the mic stuff and they did all that, and we were seeing some big moves, I thought they did a lot of great things coming in there, and had a great action match, like you said. MJF, I thought, sold pretty well too. They did stuff with the arm. I thought he did a pretty good job for most of the match. And they did some stuff with weapons as well, with Darby grabbing his skateboard. He just bopped MJF with it. It was so good, I thought.
They're running Lariat over the barricade from Darby on Sammy, and I think he was MJF, was so good.
That was good. Yeah. Another thing I didn't like too, I just want to mention this real quick. I didn't like how they had already introduced the hardcore elements to this match. It's not like this is something new. But a big pivotal moment near the end of the match was Jungle Boy having the title, but he refused to nail Yeah, I didn't like that at all. I thought, why this makes you look less likable, not more likable. It makes you look stupid because we had already seen, like, Darby used the weapons himself. Like, so it's not like you can say, oh, this is a moral quandary going in here. I thought that sucked. It kind of drove down the finish. But to me, I thought this was a great match. Legitimately 4-star, 8 out of 10. I wouldn't say any higher than that, but I thought this.
I actually gave it a 4 stars.
Yeah, exactly. See, we have the same rating on there. Like, it's a match you want to see. I definitely recommend it. I think a lot of people, it got a bump because the show before it was such a drag that this was a huge step up from anything we've seen before the show. And I think the lack of expectation helped it too. I think if this had been in the main event, it would not get as high ratings. I think the rating would be closer to an 8 than a 9.
Because then it would have to follow the Anarchy in the Arena match.
Exactly. And Anarchy might have gotten even higher rating. Because imagine going from J to Anarchy.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say about this is that MJF, you better stop talking trash about Naruki. You better stop talking trash about Dragon Gate on Twitter, but also doing Naruki Doi's moves. Okay? You did the muscular bomb twice in this match. Stop. You need to respect Dragon Gate if you're going to use the muscular bomb.
But he doesn't respect anybody. That's his gimmick because he's a heel. He's a bad guy, you know.
Yeah, but he's using the muscular bomb and
he's the devil.
It pops me every time.
He is the devil. And what more satanic action can you have than to steal Naruki Doi's moves?
Yeah.
Some would argue. But, this was a really good match. Oh, the finish was pretty funny, too, because he ended up hitting Darby with the side headlock takeover after... Darby hit the coffin drop, but MJF put the belt on Jungle Boy, and that knocked out Darby, so then he just hit the side headlock takeover on Darby to continue their story. And I hope this leads to a singles match between them.
I honestly think that Darby Allin should be the one that takes the belt off MJF.
I think that's the natural ending in a lot.
Yeah. That feels like the natural ending.
Yeah, stretch his title reign out a little bit more. I mean, in the promos, he's going back to his old gimmick. He stopped for a few weeks, but now he's back to it where he's like, I don't really want to be here anymore. So 2024, I'll probably go to WWE.
The problem is that he's only defending it twice, on pay-per-views. It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean I think that's what they're going for, but that doesn't make it good though.
It doesn't. I need a world champion that defends it often. But I get that is why they are doing this, Orange Cassidy defending it every week.
Exactly. That's exactly why that's happening. Listen, you're in the wrong country for that. WWE has a guy like that too. that defends his title.
I wish the TNT title was defended more also, since MJF is refusing to work.
Yeah, that's true. I wish the TNT title was on TNT more instead of TBS all the time. But yeah. This was a good, really strong match, though. Congratulations to all four, jokes aside. They did a great job. And I think Sammy actually did gain something from all of this. I think he's higher now than he was at the start of all of this.
I agree.
And I liked his performance.
I would say Jungle Boy is also higher than he was before this feud.
I actually think he's lower. And I think a lot of people have really turned on him. I mean, look at that match with Roosh. When it got announced, everyone was pissed. They're like, they're going to jab Roosh out to this guy? and then it happened, and everyone was like, damn, Roosh is way more of a star than Jungle Boy. He should be in the match.
Yeah, because he dominated the whole match. Jungle Boy did nothing for the whole match, and then won.
Thank you for reminding me of this.
And then Jungle Boy won, with a roll-up.
First of all, that was an awesome match.
That was a pretty good match.
Secondly, any match where Roosh is on is probably going to be great. I think that's something we've determined. I was so flabbergasted by people mad at Roosh for this match. It was a physical match and hard hitting, but people were acting like it was real. Like he shot a Jungle Boy to ruin his thing. I saw some video clip where people were going off on people saying that Roosh should be fired for going into business for himself. And what are y'all talking about? After the match, they praised each other. on Twitter, like, they were like, oh, man, that was a hell of a match. They knew it was a great match. Yeah. And they knew it was a great fight. It was bad booking. Like, that's what it was. It wasn't Rush's fault that they booked it that way. Like, it was bad that they did that right before the pay-per-view because, of course, Rush is going to stand out. Look at him. Like, he has everything. He's a star, man. And look at his look. His wrestling is amazing. Even on the post-media scrum, this isn't just my opinion. You know who else thinks so? Bryan Danielson. So if he says so, then you know it's probably true in the realm of wrestling. So to me, I was so annoyed at people on Twitter going crazy over that match, like it was this horrible thing, when it was just a terrible book, like bad booking, like more than anything Rush did wrong. Like, damn, I know Rush has done some crazy stuff in Mexico. I followed his whole career, but he's been on point in AEW. I think people need to be a little bit more fair with Rush, just the backstage stuff. Although it was funny how he every time he talks about MJF, he goes into business for himself, pretty much just in terms of talking in Spanish. If you don't understand Spanish, you wouldn't know. But he's very funny. But regardless of that, great match overall, and hopefully everybody can come out of it good. We go to the main event: Anarchy in the Arena, Blackpool Combat Club, which is Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta, versus the Elite, finally reformed after all these years. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, Hangman Page, and Kenny Omega. And so, first of all, we have to go with, because there's a lot to love about this match.
Yeah.
That they started off right away with a big negative. With they introduce, and I don't even know who this was. Did they say their names?
I don't remember.
Send me a message on Twitter if they announced who this was, who this band was that came out. So this guy comes out, and a lot of people think that he's wearing blackface but it turns out
like he looked like Slipknot at home. Also.
Yeah, we've got Slipknot at home. I think he sang like Slipknot at home without the screaming. I think too.
Yeah.
He was wearing a mask though. It wasn't anything offensive, but his singing was offensively terrible, unfortunately, because. Yeah. So basically, this is a callback to last year's Anarchy Arena, where they had Wild Thing playing over and over on the speakers, and it gave it that out of control New Jack type of feel. And I know Tony's a big fan of ECW, so it makes perfect sense that he would want to do that. So this year they had a live band playing Wild Thing, and as Sojiro once said in Persona 5, "Hoo boy, what was this song what was this singing this band played? I don't know, but they did not make a new fan in me. I will never buy any of their albums or see them on tour." What were they thinking with this? Honestly, that was the one bad part of the match until the finish was the band.
Yeah, that band, they could not sing. Like the vocalist could not sing Wild Thing. He was not a good vocalist. Yeah, like I loved the first year when they played Wild Thing while they were brawling, but the problem here was that it went on way too long in this match. And but it was still, they did a lot of great spots during the music bits of in the start, like Bryan Danielson being like sliding down the rail into like a trash can from Nick Jackson. That was awesome. This is just a plunder match. That you have crazy spots throughout the whole match, just like last year's, and it's impossible to remember every one of them because there were so many.
But my favorite part early on, when the band was still going, I think the ref bladed. That's at some point.
Okay, I did not notice that.
Yeah, I think so. And then they did a great spot where, like, this got like one of the biggest reactions on the whole show was when Hangman took the eye patch off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moxley was bleeding. It may have been Moxley that bled early too, but it was like really early on. It's like they were bleeding right away. And it led to him taking the eye patch off, and that got a huge reaction. They did a great job of stuff. Then they turned, and to me, my highlight of the match, the absolute best part, 10 out of 10 spot, was when they go up the ramp and the Young Bucks are there. They suddenly notice the guy singing the song has a BCC shirt on, like a Blackpool Combat Club shirt on. So they just super kick the hell out of this guy.
Yeah, that was great.
I loved it. Like, I popped for that. That was so fun.
The callback to the Moxley and Kenny feud with the poker chip.
Yep.
Great. And having barbed wire on there was brutal. And glass also.
Yeah. You had the Northern Light suplex down the ramp.
That was great.
Yeah.
I don't know which Jackson Claudio did this to, but it was like backstage. He did like a great swing, like in the concussion stance.
Oh yeah, that was a big moment. Yeah, too. Yeah, that was a great one. And he just like destroyed him when he like swung him into the trash can.
Yeah,
and, like what a great spot.
The pile driver in the pickup truck was awesome.
No, that was another great moment. Hey, they even called back to the Nexus where Brian grabbed Justin Roberts' jacket at one point playing off of when he got fired.
Oh my god. I did not notice that. That's awesome.
Yeah. He's kind of hesitant at first because they were like, well, they didn't say anything about it, but they were clearly alluding to when he got fired because he choked him with a tie in WWE. Now this was like something 13 years ago. The Nexus segment they called back to. So I that popped me as a longtime fan. Everybody's bleeding pretty much at the end of this.
We had Captain Kenny Omega versus with the Soldier Claudio. That was great.
And as the official Winter Soldier of Post Wrestling Network, as declared upon me by WH Park, I approved of that heavily, of course.
It was a great spot.
Where did they get that leaf blower at that I think Yuta had? And he nailed somebody with it. I don't even remember who he hit. I think it might have been Omega. But somehow you just suddenly turn around and like Yuta's got a leaf blower on here. And then like you said, the Captain America stuff came in, and
the exploding super kick. Super kick has officially peaked. We can never have a super kick ever again.
Yeah, he kicked it with like this firework thing going off, like the pyro, on his boot for a super kick. They can't do these spots anymore because it really has. Like, how are you going to up the ante from this?
Yeah. It's like, how can the Young Bucks ever do a super kick ever again without it being this cool? And like the shots off the super kick was like great because
I saw some criticism for this that thought it was stupid. I loved it. I thought it was a great move. Like a spot, like totally. And like the pictures you see on Twitter of this match, you see like the still shots of him like kicking as it goes off.
Yeah,
fantastic. Like fantastic. Just fantastic. Yeah.
I really liked in the finishing stretch they did. Hangman and Kenny did a lot of like Golden Lovers like sequences that are like famous for Golden Lovers like sequences, and that played into the finish when Takeshita came in, which I have mixed feelings on.
Yeah, I didn't like the finish because it was all based around Don Callis.
Yeah,
him coming in, and he was like commentary before the match too, or during the match too. And then he just came in, and it looked like Omega. Omega was about to hit the one-winged angel, but then Callis came in to interfere. And then Omega looked like he was about to get him, but then Takeshita came in and nailed him. And that led to Yuta hitting Omega and getting him with the seatbelt clutch for the win.
Hey, big win for Yuta, though. That's awesome.
Yuta is my guy. Like I said, I've known him for a while now. Like I said, he's a great wrestler, great young wrestler. The ending scene with Claudio putting him on his shoulders was freaking awesome. I thought great way to end, and very surprising. You didn't think that it was going to come down to Yuta getting the pin. You thought it would be Moxley in all likelihood. With the way the feud has been set up with him and Omega being the two, obviously they had that cage match a few weeks ago, which was a great match, and you thought it might play off of that, but instead Yuta getting the win, biggest win of his career, another great moment. I love the push they've given him. I love his character arc in general. He started off as this like goofy indie guy with the best friends.
But then he joined Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, because he wanted to be a real wrestler. And he had to suffer to get it. Because remember, he had those matches with Moxley and Bryan, which were both fantastic, where he bled and got busted open with a crimson mask and all that. And that led to him joining and earning respect. Because in their promos, Bryan always talks about him as like the little brother. Like the least. And he is the least accomplished. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But he talks down about him, like, that little shit, Yuta, and that kind of deal. I think now, after this win, I'd like to see a segment on Dynamite where he gets, like, put over big by the BCC. Like, he is now on the level of, Bryan and Moxley, in terms of dangerous level. Like, he is now that guy.
Yeah.
That he, he's up there now. I'd like to see that. In terms of the Callis and Takeshita thing, I said it last week. I don't think Takeshita going heel plays to his strengths.
No, it doesn't.
And that's why I said I would have liked it better if Ibushi had turned heel.
Yeah.
Because they basically all but confirmed.
And it would have made more sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like, logically, it would have made a ton more sense for him to rail against Kenny for leaving him behind. And you would have drug out the pop. Like, to me, there's just so many positives to Ibushi going heel and Takeshita staying babyface that it's a little disappointing they didn't do it, but I get it as well for the only reason that ultimately the Golden Lovers coming back is the biggest piece of fan service this company can do. So for them to do it, we'll get an amazing reaction, and all the Elite fans are going to eat that up so much. And that's something that this feud has gotten right. You don't think the Elite fans are going to love the Golden Lovers coming back? Yeah,
they will, but it's kind of like seen it, done it before. Like, we don't need it.
Oh, well, yeah, but it's not like I'm going crazy over this either. But I think the AEW fans they're going to lose it.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think it would be more cool if it was Takeshita and Kenny versus Ibushi and whoever. And I get that, and I agree. That was my idea I threw out before, that I think that should be that way. Yeah. And I also don't like Takeshita. If they're going with BCC... Takeshita is also, such a great babyface.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It goes against his strengths as a worker to be a babyface. Now you're turning him heel. I also don't like him... I don't want him to join BCC. I don't think he should.
I would prefer that over him and Don Callis just going around.
Well, that's the thing is, Don Callis shouldn't be in BCC either.
Yeah.
And they're clearly going to pair Callis to Takeshita.
Yeah, but that is also a pairing that shouldn't happen.
Well, they've done it for a while now, but I agree. I'm not a fan of his, Don Callis as a performer.
Don Callis sucks.
Yeah, so I understand that. I think that with what they set up, him going around with Takeshita would be better, because I don't think they should join BCC, logically, because at the end of the day, these guys both got heavy scars put into their head by BCC, directly. He got a screwdriver to his face. Why should he team with Bryan Danielson after that? That makes no sense whatsoever. And so I'm really against that idea, personally. I think they'll do it, though, because they're going to want Ibushi, and they're going to want a 5 versus 5 blood and guts match. And they're going to need somebody to pair against Ibushi, and that's going to be Takeshita. And I think that's ultimately all this is about. I don't think Takeshita is getting pushed out of this. I think he's more like a means to an end so they can do the blood and guts match. And his wrestling is so good that he'll be great at any role. Even as a heel, he's still going to be him. Kind of the same thing we said about Adam Cole before. He's a babyface, which is an improvement, but he's still him. And Takeshita going heel is not an improvement, but he's still him. So I think that he's going to make it work in the ring, but I just can't see it. I think it would be a lot better if what we were saying about Ibushi joining BCC and then Takeshita's joining the Elite, that would have been a lot better for multiple reasons. But they didn't go with that, ultimately. They went with this, and like I said, I understand it because the end game is obvious. I just think it would have been better if they had pushed it off a little bit more. that could have been the big story next year. Ibushi and Omega finally coming together. I think for the BCC story specifically, I think they could have held it off. So the match stuff though was a great match, like so fun, great plunder match. To me, I agree with you. I think it was the best match on the show. Pretty easily.
Yeah, it was easily the best match on the show for me. Like, this is my second favorite AEW match this year after Rouge and Bryan Danielson. It really did save the show, because this show would have been so nothing if it wasn't for the two last matches, and this especially made it worth buying the show. And I think that is because it was the only draw on the show for me.
I mean, they put it in the main event for a reason, The title match just didn't get over to that level. I mean, and like I said, the response to the match has been positive, and it was a really good match, so they deserve it on that level. But going into the show as a draw, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. This storyline has been great in general. Like, this was the first thing I would consider a real misstep, would be Takeshita going heel. And it's not even that much of a misstep, because, again, Ibushi is going to come in, and it's going to be an amazing moment, and everyone's going to go crazy over it. But just for me, I think I would have done it differently. Everything else up to this moment, I think has been a great feud. Very well booked, a lot of care put into it. Adam Page coming back was one of the best moments of the whole year for AEW. Yeah. The crowd just went insane. That's something that this feud has over all the other ones. Whoever is directing this rivalry in this program knows their fan base. They know what the AEW fans will eat up. And that's what they're doing. They've hit that at every turn. And they're doing it again with Ibushi again. So this feud is for the elite fans, like the all-elite fans that love the elite and the Golden Lovers. This feud is built all for them. And I think that's why it's been so successful in AEW, whereas a lot of these other ones, there's been, an identity crisis for a lot of these feuds, or just not as much care put into them. So I think the feud itself is phenomenal. The match was great. And I'm sure Blood and Guts will be an amazing match as well to blow it all off. So I can't complain that much. Just a little criticism on my part was the ending of the match being around Don Callis.
Yeah, that is also my major criticism of this, but everything else was so good. It is exactly what I want from these kind of matches. Like, I'm glad that they've made the Anarchy in the Arena once in a year. Like, if this was a normal stipulation, it would kill the stip.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, last year was great. I think last year's is still better. Maybe. But
I think the thing that had over this
was that it was the first time.
Yes, that's the main thing. I also think the one thing they did better is that there's a much better face-heel alignment in the first match. Like, Blackpool Combat Club are heels technically, but they're also really cool as well. They're not as hateable as JAS was last year. It's like that was a clear dichotomy for the crowd. It's like, they love the Elite, but they still sing Wild Thing for most of Moxley's entrances. They still rally behind Bryan whenever he wrestles. Like, they're badass assholes in a lot of ways, but still they're badass, and that makes people like them more. And I think that's the one thing the last match had over this one. I think the action in this one might have been a little bit better, but I think the surrounding factors probably helped the first one.
The last match also had the great moments between Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson, which was like,
that was good. That was a great segment as well. But overall, I think the show was pretty rough until the last two matches.
Yeah.
But I also want to give shout out to the ladder match, which I liked.
Yeah. I would say that the two last matches are the only, like, you have to go watch these two matches.
Yeah.
But the ladder match and the Battle Royal were, like, fine. Like, that was the only other matches that I can recommend.
Everything else was pretty rough stuff. I would say, like, it was one of their worst pay-per-views, top to bottom.
Yeah,
that I can remember, even with the great two last matches. I think they struggled.
This the two last matches didn't save the show from not being like a above average show.
Yeah, I thought it was, by AEW standards, it was well below average. I would say, like, the rating, you're looking at 6.5 out of 10 on Cage Match. That's about where I'd have it, about a 6 out of 10, even with the great main event and the great semi-main. I think that, and it saved the show. Without those two matches, it's like a 2 or a 3 to me. Like, it wasn't completely irredeemably awful, but it was bad. Like, the first part of this show was bad. Like, straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where where would you give it? 6 out of 10, maybe?
5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, right in between 5 and 6. So, yeah, that makes sense. Now, one thing that's mentioned, too, that I do want to say is that a lot of people that were at the show said the crowd was a lot hotter than it came across on TV. So that's something that may be a sound issue.
AEW has never been good at miking their crowds.
Yeah.
That is something that they haven't quite learned. And I've noticed that a lot of the time.
Yeah, you're probably right as well. You're right about that, actually. The post-show media scrum wasn't nearly as eventful as, last year. They've really cut it down as time has gone along. I think they want them to play more of the kayfabe stuff than real life because of how, All Out went. But he just said, the only news really out of it was that, Tony Khan was talking about how he was looking forward to the video games. Like that might have been the most interesting part of that. And also Bryan Danielson kind of teasing a match with Nigel McGuinness, which would be freaking great if that happens. We all want that, I think. And yeah, then Tony just talked about some stuff for the show. They had Statlander on. She was really, really excited and bubbly to win the TBS title. They had Toni Storm on. She was more like a heel character. Brian was like, he had somewhat of his character in there, but was also realistic as well. Orange Cassidy was on there. He was doing his thing. I mentioned he wanted to fight Zack Sabre Jr. at Forbidden Door, which would be really cool if that happened. I think that would be a great opponent. And MJF was there, and he basically said he wanted to go to WWE like in 2024, which is, his character pretty much. Yeah. But nothing major on the show. One thing before we get out of here, I'll ask you, Sondre, for everybody, because I don't know if I'll get to ask you this again, and at least definitely not until after it comes out. Do you have any hype level for Fight Forever, the video game?
I'll wait. I'll wait until the reviews are out.
That's exactly how I feel about it.
But that is how I feel about most games. Gaming is like that for me. There are. I have to be really into a game for me to be hyped for it.
Yeah, if it's not an already established series.
Yeah.
One of our favorites we talked about before was Metal Gear Solid. They announced the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Let's go!
Yeah, that you don't have to wait for. We already know that's going to go.
I know that I'm going to love that.
Yeah, with this, a lot of the preview stuff they've shown, it hasn't been super well received, to be honest.
It looks fine.
Yeah, it's below the WWE games on paper right now. Pretty clearly. We haven't played it, so we don't know how it plays. But
that is also setting a very low bar.
And they still couldn't reach it.
Yeah.
It's clearly worse than the WWE games. Really, based on just the look of it.
Yeah.
I haven't played the new WWE game, 2K23, but I played a lot of them besides that one. And they're all right. I don't hate the WWE games, except for 20, because the storyline was so awful that it made me just revile it. On the Patreon, too, there's some cheap plug for my Japanese show, the Eastern Lariat. Patreon.com/Eastern Lariat. We did a show, not me and Sondre, but it was me and Dr. Jonathan Foy. We did a show about wrestling video games on there, and that was my worst video game ever, was 2K20. And obviously, if you're a Fire Pro fan, I think this game probably wants to lead you more in that direction. I don't know if you ever played Fire Pro, Sondre. But
yeah. If it's like Fire Pro, I'll probably like it, but yeah.
And like I said, we only have the visuals right now. We don't have the play. We don't have a demo or anything like that. We can say it feels this way. One thing I will say, I hope they have some good impact. My main thing is I just want the career mode to be good. I want to be able to run up the roster and make people champions and things like that. If they could give me that, I'll probably be somewhat satisfied. But just monetarily, I mean, these games are expensive these days, guys. We got to wait till it's on sale, people. Before I get Fight Forever. I will very likely end up getting it, but I will wait until it's on sale. Unless the reviews come in and it's like you said, if everybody rates this a 10 out of 10, then I'll probably end up caving and getting it. But, I mean, there's a lot of red flags in the video game industry with this. I mean, it's been taking a long time to make. It's been in development hell for a while now, which could be a good or a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, Dragon Age Origins is one of my favorite games ever, and that was in development like 9 years or something, like before it finally got released. But they did a lot of great things. They said they've wanted to make it more like the N64